Yeah, so today we're talking about how we've endured or how we've gotten through hard times. I think there's no other better way than to use this moment, use this time to talk about kind of some of those challenges that we've been through. And if you're wondering where I'm at my grandpa's house. No Starbucks today, but we wanted to just, talk about what are some of the, or how do we get through hard times? As many know, that have been here for a while. You guys know we've been through some things. Young age, we got married. Brithzy was 19. Right. I was 22, 21. And, we've faced some things very young, and that doesn't mean we're going to get into a victim story here. I think we've not only have gone through, but we've pushed through some things. And so, we lost our son. Obviously, that was our biggest hardship. We right now are going through a distance. We're having to be away from each other for a year. And we're having to grieve many things, like not having a child yet, feeling stagnant in certain parts of our lives, feeling like, when does this all end? And so
we've only been through what we've been through, so we're speaking from our experience, like you said, and what has gotten us through it and is still getting us through it. Like you said, hardship is inevitable. I think it's part of life to go through challenges and trials and hardship. It's not always like that, I don't want to be like a gloomy girl and to say hardship is inevitable. It's the harsh truth, but it's not always like that. But sorry, I interrupted you.
So I think the purpose for this video is for those that are currently going through a hard time, and we just want to share some of the things that we've learned, and how have we gotten through some hardships. And so I think would you say what's the quick or what's the short answer?
Yes, the cliche, the quick, the easy answer is God. By God's grace. Oh, got through it with God, got through it with his mercy, got through it with his grace. It was only God. It was only God. There is truth to that, but let's be a little more transparent. Like, let's talk about the stuff that comes behind. It was by God, and through that comes, I would say, acceptance in a way, being transparent with God. And it doesn't always look cute. It's not like I woke up one day and everything was better. At least it wasn't like that for me or for you.
Right. I specifically, now sorry to cut you off, baby girl, but I specifically have struggled with, we all have a testimony, we all have a story, and we all deal with things differently, and we all get through things in a different manner. But I would struggle a lot with I guess the timeline of people's testimonies, just because I felt like, sometimes it was, or what do you think? Like, sometimes it's too short, or like,
or too put in a cute way and like a clean, tidy way, I guess you could say.
Like very easy. I got through this addiction. God showed up and I never looked back. Or I lost my loved one and God restored me and I had a new child. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, for our example, we've gone through this, but we haven't seen the full miracle, full circle again.
Right.
We're still hoping, we're still waiting 4 years later. And so I guess what I'm saying is I struggle with not with the testimonies alone, but as you know, comparison is a thief of all joy. But that was my mistake. I would compare my story with other people's story, because, we're told that maybe we could relate or learn from other situations. But I would see it as like, man, like, why am I still not there? Or why haven't I, or help me with this? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. And let's talk about one of like the main hard thing we walked through is losing our son Abel. He was 3 years old. And I remember when he passed, we looked at each other and we were like, things will be better 1 year from now. We were like, I give ourselves 1 year and we will be healed. And so we held on to that hope, like, God, in 1 year, you're going to do it. You're going to change this around. Our grief is going to be gone. Our sadness is going to be gone. Our anxiety is going to be gone. Right? And that was us kind of in the perspective of denial and truly not accepting the journey that God had before us. Because one, we were afraid. We didn't know what the next day held. We didn't know what the future held. And touching base on, like, we're still waiting for the miracle, right? We're still waiting. Like, God is still continuing to heal us day by day, like 4 years down the road.
Yeah, the mistake we made was setting an expiration date for our healing. And yeah, everyone has a different time frame when, I'm still hoping on some miracles currently. And then there's some where, yeah, we've healed, we've learned a lot through our marriage. And the reality is I'm still finding myself grieving not having a child, or why hasn't that blessing came around for me? Mm-hmm. And I guess, yeah, what has helped us get through a hard time, the short answer, the reason why I say God is, it's a little bit longer than that. There's a little bit more depth, like Brithzy was saying. There's just more to it than just God has helped me through this. And of course, every single day, I'm currently breathing right now because of him. Yeah. And everything I've gone through is because of him. And I actually, I get my phone because I was, a while ago I was reading the book of Job, and, it's easy to reflect or to see yourself in the life of Job. Job in the Bible was someone that lost everything, and then he gained everything 100-fold. I mean, his blessing, came around full circle. And I was reminded of a moment because one of the ways that has taught me in how to get through a hard time is to accept that I'm not in control. I'm going to come back to the Job thing, but I'm not in control of my life. I can only do my part. And there's moments where I pour in so much, I put so much effort into something, and it still doesn't turn around for my good. Or sometimes I just, no matter the effort, it doesn't happen. And so what has helped me get through a hard time is accepting that I'm not in control. Yeah. And I'm currently learning that in this moment. I'm not in control of some things. And, in the book of Job, we talk so much about Job being faithful to God, and that's absolutely true. But he also complained. And something that is just so profound is I can't remember the verse, I guess it's Job 38, but the Lord spoke to Job, and he basically told him, who do you think you are? Like, where were you when I laid the earth? Or the earth, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Who marked off its dimensions? Surely, on what were its footings set? And then it says, I would challenge, or I would encourage you to read this, but I just love this part because he's saying, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you and you shall answer me. And so he just started laying out all the things that God has done. Where were you in this moment? Where were you when I aligned this? And it's true. God already knows my story and our story, and so I guess, yeah, we can look, or we can compare ourselves a lot to Job. But what do you think about complaining? Is that, I mean, that's something that we did a lot through our journey with, trying to get through hard times. For example, Abel's situation.
Right.
Do you think?
No, I go back to a lot of the messages that we receive from people like, man, you guys are so resilient. You guys are so motivating. You encourage us. Like, I started my walk back with God because of your family, your faith. And sometimes those messages would make me feel like, man, like if only they knew we weren't always so resilient, so strong. Like there were times where we complained in the sense of like, God, like when is my time going to come? Like, God, when is Abel going to get better? Lord, when are we going to see brighter days? God, when are we going to have this or that? When are we going to have more children? God, why did Alfredo have to stay in Mexico for a year, right? And I think there's a line, there's like a thin line between like complaining and then, I feel like there's a vulnerability that can come with complaining and transparency. Whereas like, God, I feel this way. I don't feel like I could carry through. I feel like this is happening. Lord, why is this going left? Why is this going right? So I think there's like freedom in a sense when it comes to complaining. But I know you called me out a few times, but make sure not to stay in the complaints.
Yeah. Yeah, like, some of the times that we've put out some of our videos in the past, I know right now we're not as consistent, but there's no agenda really to what even just these videos alone. We're just kind of going based off what's in our heart. But some of the videos that we put out, we had no one to talk to sometimes. And I think one of our biggest mistakes was, or that I learned, was be careful who you complain to, because I don't think complaining necessarily is a bad thing. I just think it matters who you're complaining to. And really what I learned through all this is, what I'm learning currently is, talk to the right people, but most importantly, you better have a relationship with God, because He wants you to bring all your mess, all your worries, everything that you feel, all the insecurities, every thought that you have in the back of your mind that you don't let out, how you're, currently complaining, or you're comparing yourself to other people's lives and you see other people getting blessed and you're having to see it happen, and you're still in the same situation, or you don't know how or when your moment's going to come, and you're trying everything, you're fasting, you're praying, and somehow, some way, you're told you just need to believe, or you just need to give it to God, and no matter what you do, it's just not working out. And so I guess complaining, one of our ways that we've gotten through hard times is learning, we learn the hard way sometimes, is being careful who we complain to, talking to the right people, but most importantly, take it all to God, like for real, because He will renew, restore, rejuvenate your whole thinking system.
Right. Yeah, and also I want to add a little sticky note. It would be to not build a tent in your complaints of that's all that comes out of your mouth. And in the sense of like the Bible does say the power of life and death is in your tongue. And
well, it's like I always say, or there's this saying, you are what you eat, and I always say you are what you speak.
Right. And it's okay to come to God with your vulnerabilities and your feelings. He's not afraid of it. He already knows that you feel that way. Again, there's like a freedom that comes with it, but don't build a tent where you stay there and that's all you do. Because you also need to speak life into it, saying, okay, God, life may look like this right now, but I know that it's not going to stay this way. I know that my breakthrough is still around the corner. And that's why it goes back to not having control. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing to not have control of it. You know?
To some people, for me, it's super hard to know that. You know what's crazy too? Whenever you let go of controlling something, I don't know if you ever find yourself where like you don't even think about it. You're not even staying up late thinking about it, worried. As soon as you let it go, eventually it comes back around and you realize, wow, like I forgot about this and now it's working out. Or letting go of the pressure of certain things. Like, for example, for me, waiting for my DACA acceptance. I was so stressed out about it, wasn't coming into the mail. And, you know, for those that are DACA recipients, you guys know that pressure. And no matter what, you did it on time and it just wasn't coming. Called so many people, talked to lawyers. And as soon as I let it go, it was in the mail and I had forgotten about it. And so it's crazy to just...
We were being a little bit of Karens and God said, you better sit down, Karen.
Sit down, boy. And so I have a question for you though, for those, because sometimes you don't even know you're in a tent. How did you manage to acknowledge and get out of the tent?
That's a really great question. I think what made me realize that I was in a tent was someone so close to me called me out and they did it with love and not like judgment, pointing fingers at me. There's a beautiful thing when it comes to someone correcting you in love and that my person is you. I may not always take it the right way. But I've come to learn that just because you get held accountable or someone's holding you accountable for your actions, your words, what you did, whatever, doesn't mean it's a wrong thing. You don't always have to get defensive. And that's something that I'm still learning. But I think it was really you. Like, you called me out. And obviously, like, another close friend of mine called me out. Like, you called me out like, Britt, I think you're in a tent. Like, you sure have set up a whole campfire right there. You know? So
you need somebody that is going to call you out, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not sugarcoating it, not, you know, like you said, with love, but being honest, like, hey, like, this is concerning and it's time to get out, you know?
Yeah, and I didn't
like I'm wanting to move forward, but I can't seeing you in the same place.
Exactly. And like you said, you may not realize it. Like, I didn't realize I was so deep in it. I just thought it was like, this is new for me, or like, this is going to be it for me from now on. And I should get used to it.
You just weren't aware that you were in it. That's all it was.
Exactly. So
that's what happens to a lot of us, everyone that's watching. Like, it's, you know, but what were you saying?
Yeah, no, it takes someone who truly loves you and wants to see you grow to hold you accountable and be like, yo, you really are setting up a tent. Like, it's time to do something different. You know, someone who truly wants to help you and see you grow. And that's how I realized I was in the tent. And you said, what was your other question?
How did you, I guess it coexisted, but how did you get out of it?
That's a really great question. How did I get out of it? Like, the actions I did?
No, I mean, just how did you manage to decide I'm walking forward? Like, I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to be in this darkness no more.
Well, I realized that.
And you might not be completely, like, it doesn't mean you're completely out of it.
Yeah.
But you're much closer to the tunnel or out of the tunnel.
For sure. And I think something that has stuck with me so much is that God has spoken to me that life continues. And initially, if you would have told me that 4 years ago, like right when we lost Abel, I would have thrown a tantrum. Like, what do you mean life goes on? What do you mean it gets better? Like, this is it for me. What do you mean? Like, I don't feel happy. I don't feel joy. And I can now accept that it's actually a beautiful thing that life continues on.
Right.
Because that just goes to show that God's word carries on throughout the ends of the earth. He's promised us good things. Like you said, I could have stopped believing, like, God, you promised me this. You spoke word over us time and time again, like that it is well for our future. It is well for our family. It is well for our soul. I don't see it. So surely you must not be a promise keeper. Surely you forgot about me, But it's a beautiful thing that God continues to bless your life and life continues on. Like, for example, like we've been in this journey of long distance for almost 7 months. So we're a little bit, coming towards the end of it, so and so. And I could have easily been like, I could have been like rotting in bed. Like, okay, my world is literally over right now. My husband's in Mexico. We do life together. Like, what is this going to be like? And sure, those thoughts came to my head initially. But again, God's love sounds a little bit cliche, but it is something I'm still getting through day by day.
And that's important that you said that, day by day, because it doesn't happen just overnight. It takes time. And, I was going to say lastly, one of the things that has really got us through hard times is hope, being hopeful that, you know what, faith without works is dead. So I need to put my part in and accept that one day I am gonna touch that blessing. It's already mine. It's just not here yet. And I have to be patient. Sometimes that patient doesn't look so well put. It doesn't look nice. I'm wrestling and that's something that I was just recently convicted with. I'm gonna say this last because I do gotta go. But I was convicted because I used to say all the time that, how we say, choose your hard, walking with God is already hard, but walking without God is even harder. Well, I was convicted because walking alone with God isn't hard, isn't exhausting. I used to say, man, it's so exhausting, like having to pray, having to read, but he lightens our burdens. So how could we say, who am I to say it's exhausting? That only means I'm not truly walking in his steps. I'm walking with my own strength. I'm walking with my own understanding. And so that's going back to the control, letting go of that control, that I'm only exhausted because I'm trying to figure it out myself. And little do I know that I'm just cycling and not really getting anywhere. And so God really lightens all your worries, all your burdens. And if you don't know Jesus, it truly, truly makes a difference. And I think it's the short answer, but it's the right answer, but it's also the truth, because he's helped us get through every single day. But it's not complete. I'm still hoping for my miracle. I'm still waiting for some things, and I'm having to see people get blessed right in front of me without me. I'm still praying and hoping for my miracle. And so it's hard. It's tough. It's all the above, but you have to remain still. And that's something that's so difficult for me. But that's all I really had to say. I just want you to know you are going to get through it. And it might take some time. Some people have different expiration dates, and you have to be willing to be okay with that.
Amen. That was beautifully said.